guys, James at Bespoke Airsoft here, and welcome back to another video. And in this one we're looking at a pistol that I really enjoyed in the review, and I've actually got one myself, which would be the Secutor Ludus. The Secutor Ludus, not a cheap pistol at all. If you haven't seen the review that I did on the Secutor Ludus, make sure you go and check that out first to give you loads of cool information. Just ignore the fact that there's no RMR on here at the moment.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
But this pistol is very good, I believe, for the money. I think it's worth every penny. But you can't deny that in the review we tested the trigger, so we tested the trigger, I tested the trigger, and it was found to be lackluster. Now, we have a comparison here with the Jag Precision John Wick 3, which is a very cheap pistol for what it is. It's like 130 compared to 180, if I recall from memory. But this pistol, coming from a cheap Chinese manufacturer, had one of the best triggers I had seen in a long time in a pistol off the shelf. Yes, this trigger is absolutely amazing. But can we make the trigger better on the Secutor Ludus? Because it was bad. Now, there's two problems with this trigger. You've got the sponginess when you pull the trigger, and then you've also got the brake, which is a very hard pull compared. It's probably about 3 or 4 times harder pull than what the John Wick is. So there's two things we need to look at. The sponginess is due to the trigger. I'm going to butcher the names here, but the trigger connector, which comes back. I'm not a Hi-Capa expert. I've worked on Hi-Capas all over the years, but I've never really got the lingo with the parts on these. But the bar comes back, hits a metal piece which activates on the sear, which releases the hammer. Now, the sponginess is due to the amount of play in those parts, and then the hammer, where the sear engages the hammer, there's that much of a long release on the hammer, the way the hammer's been made, that it gives you a really hard pull. So we're going to look at fixing this. Now, I can deal with the little bit of sponginess as long as the pistol is a more of a delight to shoot, and it isn't such a hard pull, because let's face it, it really is a hard pull compared to other things on the market. I mean, FNX 45, this is a VFC, this is completely standard apart from the aesthetics. Beautiful trigger. The old trusty WEXDM, this one's obviously been heavily modified, but in terms of the trigger, the hammer and the sears, it's all standard. Absolutely perfect. Moving on, we've got the John Wick, we've looked at that. Obviously the Mark 23 is a little bit different, but we're also looking at the beautiful 19X as well. We've got a little take up in the trigger, but the brake is absolutely superb. So I love this pistol. I want to do a proper build series with this pistol. I want to Cerakote it. I want to put some really nice trades or cuts or extra flair on this already great looking pistol. But can we make the trigger a little bit better first? So let's get the top down camera, let's take a look at this thing, and I'll take you through the guide on how to do this yourself. So here we have the Secutor Ludus. You'll see this one is the black barrel model with the black compensator. I much prefer the look of the gold barrel, but hey ho, this is what Secutor very kindly sent me for the review, so I've been able to keep it. So what you will need for this guide, so you need a 3mm Allen key, 2mm Allen key, a small posi screwdriver, a file, your wits, and a good cup of tea. Or beer, or vodka, or whiskey, whatever floats your boat. Obviously just drink safely. So what first we're going to do, we're going to take the slide off, we're going to line the slide release up with that little notch in the slide there. There we go. Take the slide off, pop it to one side, we don't need that. So next of all, we're going to disengage the hammer spring, which is in this section here in the grip. For that, I'm just going to use the 3mm Allen key just to push that out, and then what it will do is it will hold it in place. So I can carefully remove that, let that down, that piece will come off. Now the next part, I want you to be very careful. We need to take the thumb safeties, the thumb grip safeties off. So we're just going to pop this up here as if you're engaging the safety, and then you'll see it'll go a little bit higher. When you pull this piece out, you need to watch, because the spring and follower, the little detent follower here for the safety, is going to want to shoot out. So just make sure it's covered. As you pull it out, you'll see there it's shot out. So you got your spring and a little stopper as well. That side of the safety will come out. What we do is we focus on the other side of the safety. This will rotate further round, and then we can just pull that out, which holds the beaver tail in. Pull the beaver tail off. We've got your leaf spring, and there we go. So first of all, I'm going to take the Phillips screwdriver, small one, big one, doesn't matter at all. This screw is not that tight. Well, it wants to stay in there today, so we'll just leave that in there for the moment. Take your 3mm Allen key, and you want to take the grip screws off. You've got one on each side. This is a guide I've been looking to do for a while. There's a few of you that have asked me to find a way to improve this trigger after I did the review on it, and I just haven't had time, but I've just got around to doing it. You'll see when I take the hammer out, I've already done mine, and you'll see this part here which engages the sear, and you'll see just how loose and how much play there is in it. So whether this can be improved, I don't know. Whether we can improve the distance between this, and we just buff the shim the trigger bar out, as you see here, so it just sits. It's only like a mil or two it needs to move, just so it engages. So it's basically engaging that lever, and the lever's just on the tip of the sear. So, however, flip this over. This pistol is extremely easy to take apart compared to some other Hi-Capa brands or 9011 brands. We're just going to take that little 2mm Allen bolt out there, and you'll be able to remove your valve knocker and your spring and everything. It's all encased in there. As long as you're careful, you're not chucking it about the room, that'll stay as it is. And then we have the bar that I don't know the name of still. And the sear and the hammer. So let's remove the hammer. Now you'll see, let me zoom you in so this is a little bit easier. There we go, that's better. So if I put a bit of pressure on this sear, your hammer normally slips forward like this. You've got your half cock and then the full hammer back. And this section here, this tooth, I have actually already filed down because I needed to obviously see if this would work. This was actually out here. So it's probably, I've took about 30% off the length of this tooth. And I probably could probably take more off comfortably and make it a little bit better. In fact, why don't we do that at the moment so you'll see what I mean. So we're just going to remove this. You normally have like a black coating on the hammer, and you can see where it's nice and shiny, and then all you're doing, the easiest way I found to do this was sitting the hammer at, so these two lines here are at 90 degrees, and the hammer, this tooth here was probably about, you'll see when you take yours out, it's longer than this, it's probably about here. So all I was doing was keeping that flat, whether you go up and down strokes like this, or you go up and down strokes like this, and I was just taking that off. So what I'll do now, I'll do some just to demonstrate. I'll try and keep this in the shot for you. It might be difficult with the table that I'm filming on. So if the camera does rock, I apologise. So you just go in there like that. And what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit off here so I'm not rocking the camera about. So you'll see here that that is now much flat compared to where it was. Now what you need to do is, once you've got this down, I recommend just trying a little bit at a time and trying it in the pistol. I think originally it was about out here. So you can see I'm probably about 30 to 40% less. And then after you've done that, what you need to do is you need to recreate the curve so it's nice and smooth. So So now you'll see there's more of a curve on it, like that. Perfect. Once you've got your desired effect, no matter how many times you want to take apart and put this thing together, and just, I would recommend just trying small increments, putting the pistol together, trying it, and then going from there. So once it's done, you just want to pop the hammer back into place, like so. Just the other stopper that's come out there. And we'll see that we've got the half cock, then the full latch, and then literally your bar is going to, the way it works, it just sits behind the sear. So the sear will be engaging the hammer like so. This bar moves forward like that, rotating the sear, and then that's what releases. Let's just zoom you out a little bit here. So once we've done that, it's dead simple. We can put the other half back together, like so. I'm going to take the 2mm screw, the 2mm Allen key screw, and we're going to put that back in. Just make sure everything's centered, that you're not rounding the screws off or cross-threading. Just snug it up, it doesn't need to be too tight. Once that's back in, I'm just going to put the first stopper in and the spring, like that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put the grip back on. Zoom you back out here. And we're just going to line everything back up. I'm going to pop the grip screws back on first, which is your 3mm Allen key or Allen driver. So yeah, in terms of gun to work on, this one is very, very easy indeed. I'm going to pop that screw back in as well. Again, this doesn't need to be insanely tight, just nip it up. There we go. Everything's rolling about here. Just going to pop the leaf spring loosely back into place, like so, so that we can put the beaver tail back on. Just going to sit that in situ. I'm going to pop the beaver tail back into place. Once that beaver tail is holding everything in like so, I'm going to take the right hand side of the grips, the thumb safety. I'm going to pop that back into the beaver tail so it holds it all in. We're going to lever it up slightly. I'm going to take the other stopper. I'm going to put that. I'm going to put that back loosely in place. I'm going to take the thumb safety, pop it back in, make sure it's lined up with the other side, and then before we fully press it down, I'm just going to take the file, I'm just going to push that stopper back into position very carefully, and then this should close back down like so. Once it's closed back down, we can push it down so it locks it in place. Now we flip the pistol around. We've got the leaf spring sat there, we've got the beaver tail. We're going to make sure that the hammer bar is central, and then we're going to put the part of the grip which houses the hammer spring back on, slide that into position, bit of finger gymnastics here, and then we're going to pop the pin back in. Going to push that pin firmly back into its seated position, and we are good to go. So let's give the trigger a bit of a test. That is so much better, even better than before actually. Test everything, make sure it works. I think the leaf spring's not quite sat on that bar on the right hand side properly, so I'm just going to check that. It's just a case of making sure everything's lined up correctly. So yeah, I can see it through the grip. It just needs to tap into one side. Like so. Just a misalignment, that's all. We can pop that back on. Pop the pin back in. You'll see that bar's now sticking up like it should because it's sat on the spring. Silly me. And watch the trigger. So we took all that. You'll see a tiny bit of slop where the bar's moving, but that is now massively reduced. It was very spongy before. Now it feels solid at the brake, and the trigger is so much better. That is all you will need to do. We can pop the slide back onto the pistol, line up the little notch, pop the slide release back in, test the trigger, test the reset, and that is all she's done. So I'll just quickly get back on camera and we'll wrap this video up. Dead simple. Thank you very much for tuning into this guide. I hope it's helped you in some way. Bear in mind, this is not the be all and end all, this is how you do it and this is the spec that you have to do it to. Feel free to experiment. Just don't go too far to the point where you start modifying it beyond its actual functional capability. So you don't want to take too much off the hammer so then it can't engage on the sear. But you'll see here now, we took a lot of that weight out the trigger to the point where it's a lot better. There's still a bit of a disconnect, which is this loose part. I can't think of the name of the part, it's going to annoy the crap out of me. But this part can basically pivot before it hits the sear, and that's what you see the play in the trigger. So maybe we need to shim the trigger bar, maybe. I don't know. I'll look into it, see what we can do. If of course I find a way to stiffen this trigger up, I'll of course do another video and let you know. But in terms of the brake, oh, I've had it cocked. In terms of the brake, it's so much better than it was. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video, and have a great day.